that blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers to and from Venezuela. And what the New York Times is now reporting at this hour involving the Venezuelan Navy, potentially in response. Here's Martha Raddatz.
Tonight, Venezuela bracing for a possible repeat of the dramatic seizure of an oil tanker just 1 week ago. And now, a new threat from President Trump in his high-stakes showdown with Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro. Trump ordering what he calls a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. At least 15 sanctioned tankers full of oil are floating off Venezuela and could be targeted if they enter international waters, experts say. A move that would choke Venezuela's oil exports, the lifeblood of Maduro's regime, which President Trump is calling a foreign terrorist organization. Late today, the president pressed if the blockade is about regime change.
Just a blockade. Not going to let anybody going through that shouldn't be going through.
David, according to the New York Times, Venezuela's Navy has now been ordered to escort oil tankers leaving its port, which could increase the likelihood of a confrontation. David?
All right, Martha Raddatz, we'll see you tonight.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this panel show are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this channel, its affiliates, sponsors, or production team. This content is intended for informational and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. We encourage respectful dialogue and critical thinking around the topics discussed.
Party. Why I like the new party? Number one, it's a group of people that's on a panel. We all have differences, but we all basically still come together at the end of the day. The new party for me is about unity. The new party for me is about educating people to the truth, letting people know what's been going on in our country. With that being said, shout out to the new party, man. We're going to keep it going with y'all.
Welcome to the new party. I'm Gray Mars.
What's up, Doc?
I'm Kamal.
I'm Enzo.
I'm Mia. I'm Kim.
So as you can see, there's a blockade against Venezuela. We were talking about that in a group chat. You guys are getting pretty passionate about that. Kim, you were the opposition against Doc and Enzo. So what do you think?
I think war is bad. War is always bad. War is never justified. And the government's always lying to us, especially with respect to Venezuela. It has gone back decades, even back to the time of Hugo Chavez. Do you have a more specific question? There's so much going on. But basically, they're going to take their oil. Maduro has said, you can have my oil. We'll sell it to you. You guys can have the rights to the oil. I just want to go out on my own and I don't want to have to get killed, but they won't have that. They want to make a show of force because it's like porn for them. And they want to, well, at the heart of this is Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is a very, very, very conservative Cuban. And a lot of very, very, very conservative Cubans believe in the 1960s domino effect. They think that if Venezuela goes down, then thereafter they can take the Cuban leadership down again. But it's all just very disgraceful, and war is bad. People are going to die. There's no justifying it, and we can't just take people's oil. By the way, Chevron actually, under the Biden administration, they were given like a very special license to go ahead and proceed with having some of the rights to the oil in Venezuela. So currently right now we have an American company who has rights to Venezuelan oil. So that's not necessarily all of it, but they do want to take it, and they want to take it forcibly. And I think they're aiming towards a Libya-style takedown of Maduro, sadly.
So we want to see what the Venezuela defense minister had to say. Warning, it is captions. Kimberly, maybe you can translate.
Día de ayer, lamentablemente, escuchamos unas delirantes declaraciones del presidente de los Estados Unidos de Norteamérica. Delirantes. Cuando señaló e indicó que se establecía un supuesto bloqueo naval en las aguas del Caribe con un despliegue, como él mismo lo ha dicho, sin precedentes de su armada, de la Armada de los Estados Unidos, en espacios del Caribe. Un espacio que está dado para la cooperación, para el libre comercio, para la libre navegación. No es un espacio cerrado a los intereses de los Estados Unidos. No lo es. Y ha anunciado una cosa completamente incoherente. Completamente incoherente. Ha dicho el señor Trump que nosotros somos los ladrones, que nosotros nos hemos robado el petróleo que subyace aquí en nuestra tierra, pero que ellos dicen que les pertenece. Eso es una cosa completamente inconsistente, incoherente. La verdad ha sido develada. A confesión de partes, dirían los juristas, relevo de pruebas. Se trata ya por la vía de la fuerza, ya no de las sanciones, de las medidas coercitivas unilaterales, del aislamiento político, diplomático, comunicacional, el terrorismo psicológico. Ya no es por esa vía, sino se ha acudido a la fuerza, a la violencia. Y quienes acuden a la fuerza y a la violencia están perdidos. Están perdidos. Es la herramienta de aquellos que no tienen la razón, la fuerza. Y los Estados Unidos está demostrando una radical, una diáfana desesperación en el manejo de su política exterior, particularmente con Venezuela. La Fuerza Armada Nacional Bolivariana rechaza rotundamente las delirantes declaraciones emitidas ayer martes 16 de diciembre de los Corrientes, en las cuales de manera insolente amenaza a nuestra nación con acciones armadas y ordena un supuesto bloqueo naval total para confiscar buques que transporten petróleo venezolano. Hecho este que comporta un vulgar acto de piratería. Las acusaciones formuladas resultan fantasiosas e incoherentes, pues insólitamente señalan que les hemos robado petróleo, tierras y otros activos, lo cual es completamente falso y desenmascara la inverosímil narrativa del combate al narcoterrorismo, develando además las perversas intenciones planeadas desde el inicio de la escalada belicista a mediados de este año, que tal como lo ha señalado reiteradamente el ciudadano Nicolás Maduro Moros, presidente constitucional de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela, no son otras que forzar un cambio de régimen en nuestro país y apoderarse groseramente de su petróleo y demás recursos naturales estratégicos. Todo es por petróleo.
Doc, is it all about oil?
Yeah, so what?
You got to play the Dave Chappelle clip.
And maybe it is. So what? I mean, they're going to do it. They do it internationally everywhere. So what? That's my biggest thing. Like, it ain't like Venezuela's a fine oil machine, no pun intended. You know what I mean? They might as well make my gas $1.50. And if that's what Trump got to do to make it so that I can just travel around here freely, carefree, and drive around in the hood, God damn it, I support him.
Wow. So let's hear from Trump himself. That's what he had to say.
Land, oil rights, whatever we had, they took it away because we had a president that maybe wasn't watching. But they're not going to do that. We want it back. They took our oil rights. We had a lot of oil there. As you know, they threw our companies out, and we want it back.
So, Enzo, Trump is basically saying that it's about oil. He basically said it right there. Are you in agreement with Doc? Are we doing, big heists on countries now?
It's a combination of things. It's a combination about the drugs, going after the drugs, labeling Tenderagua as narco terrorist. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud is the loophole that they're going to get into to justify it and get around Congress to do it. I'll be completely blunt, honest, and say that I could see it a mile away. But it also factors in Iran's ties with Venezuela, their drone manufacturing, Venezuela helping Iran start building their nuclear facilities again, Hezbollah's ties to Venezuela as well in our hemisphere. You have a dictator, you have somebody who opened the floodgates and brought in all these Tenderagua gang members under the previous administration with no ramifications whatsoever. They constitutes the Illegal Alien Enemies Act that Donald Trump enacted and labeled them terrorist organizations. And the oil is just going to be the spoils of war at this point. Who cares, honestly? If this is what every president has done before, Democrats just literally went in after Bush in the Iraq War and literally kept that war going. There's nothing different here that hasn't been going on for 30 years now. Because if somebody else is in office, they would have did the same exact thing.
You basically brought it right into my next clip, because people are saying this is exactly what Trump is doing, is on par what America's been doing for years.
Trump isn't deranged for wanting war with Venezuela. In fact, that might be the most traditional thing he's done since taking office, because the US has been trying to steal Venezuela's oil for over 100 years. Since it became known that Venezuela had the world's largest proven oil reserve. And it has actually been official US foreign policy for more than 20 years to try and destroy the Venezuelan government and steal the Venezuelan people's oil. In 2002, the US came close to succeeding. The Bush regime, in cooperation with the Venezuelan Business Federation and bribable elements of the Venezuelan military, captured the beloved Venezuelan socialist president Hugo Chavez and installed a right-wing dictator called Pedro Carmona, whose first order of business, and you're not going to believe this, was to privatize Venezuela's oil and give it to US corporations. But the Venezuelan people saw the coup for what it was, an attempt by the United States to steal Venezuela's resources and oil, and a massive uprising, general strike, and loyalist members of the military reversed the coup, freed Chavez, and Carmona was forced to flee to the US. Now you might be thinking, wait, what? Why have I never heard of this before? Well, that's because immediately after this, the US media started talking about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and the US went off to fight a different war for oil that made everyone quickly forget about the coup in Venezuela. In 2017, the US empire's covetous eyes once again turned to Venezuela, and sanctions were launched against the country. Venezuelan oil was forbidden to be traded with US companies and associates, and the US stopped imports into Venezuela, including food and medical supplies. This collapsed the Venezuelan economy and directly led to the deaths of more than 40,000 people. But that was the whole point. These sanctions weren't there just to cripple the Venezuelan economy, it was intended to collapse the entire Venezuelan society. By turning Venezuela into a failed state, it would make the subsequent invasion and stealing of oil much easier for the United States, a plan the US had successfully orchestrated in Libya only a few years earlier. And because repeated coup attempts have failed, sanctions have failed, and the smearing of Maduro's reputation has failed, the US has decided, to hell with it, and they're now just planning to invade Venezuela. Using lazy excuses like taking out imaginary narco-terrorists, whatever that means, while the US drone strikes innocent fishermen and hijacks Venezuelan oil tankers, trying to provoke Venezuela into retaliation so the US can use it as an excuse to declare war. But Venezuela will not be broken. If the US invades, it will be the graveyard of the United States empire, just like how Gaza became the graveyard of international law. And since Venezuelans are now rushing to get armed, trained, and join militias, vowing to fight a guerrilla war to the death for their survival and sovereignty, a long protracted war is unlikely to break Venezuelan society. But it might just be the straw that breaks the back of US society. Anyway, if you want to hear the long version of this story, check out the Trist.
Mia, is war worth getting the oil?
I mean, I guess you have to you have to look at the pros and cons. I'm glad we've established we're going there for oil, because I hate when people say it's narco-terrorism. It has nothing to do with drugs. I mean, Venezuela isn't even a top 10 drug trafficking. You know what the #1 drug trafficking country is? Panama. Panama, due to the Panama Canal. Panama and the Golden Triangle in Asia produce more methamphetamines, more fentanyl, and cocaine than any of them. So if we really cared about narco-terrorism, we would go into Asia. Laos, Myanmar, and China are the largest distributors of methamphetamines in the entire country. And then after that, it's Afghanistan and the Middle East for fentanyl and opium. So at this point in time, if we actually cared about drugs, we wouldn't bother with Venezuela. I'm super glad people are now understanding it's nothing to do with drugs and it's all about the oil. And to be honest, I don't really think it's worth it. I'm America only and America first, and I don't like the idea of any American citizen potentially dying over a bunch of shit that doesn't even, it's not going to help us. This is just another scheme for the rich to continue to get rich as they crash our economy and they introduce a new monetary system because they have bankrupted this country and we no longer are selling our long-term treasury bonds anymore because people don't believe we can pay back $39 trillion in debt. This is just another way for the rich to continue to get richer in this K-shaped economy. And anybody who doesn't think that's a fucking idiot.
Well, Thomas Massey compared this to Afghanistan because basically that's the last time we got in a long war over oil.
Framers understood a simple truth. To the extent that war-making power devolves to one person, liberty dissolves. If the president believes military action against Venezuela is justified and needed, he should make the case and Congress should vote before American lives and treasure are spent on regime change in South America. Let's be honest about likely outcomes. Do we truly believe that Nicolas Maduro will be replaced by a modern-day George Washington? How did that work out? In Cuba, Libya, Iraq, or Syria? Previous presidents told us to go to war over WMDs, weapons of mass destruction, that did not exist. Now it's the same playbook, except we're told that drugs are the WMDs. If it were about drugs, we'd bomb Mexico, or China, or Colombia, and the president would not have pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez. This is about oil and regime change.
Come on. Is this the new Afghanistan? Is Venezuela the new Afghanistan?
Shit, I don't know if they is, but I'll tell y'all one goddamn thing. It's the first time I done seen a 3 at a gas station in a long ass time in California. A 3. It say $3.99, but a 3. It's been years since I've seen that shit. So, it could be the new Afghanistan, Pakistan. I don't give a damn stand. At this point, that gas is cheap in Cali. So I'm going to say whatever Trump is goddamn doing, I agree with you, Doc. Shit, man. Hey, get all the oil. Oil Sheen, oil market, oil fish oil. I don't give a damn. I am grateful to see I go out there and see a 3 at the gas stations. All right? That's how I feel about it.
Well, y'all
and I want to make a point though, because I see somebody in the chat say get a Tesla. I don't think they realize how energy is created even for electric vehicles. We burn fossil fuels to charge electric vehicles. There isn't some sort of electric ferry that comes from the sky and you plug your Tesla in and now Shazam is charged and you can drive 298 miles until your next supercharger. They burn fossil fuels as well to make electricity so you can charge those vehicles.
The batteries are also very hard to recycle, and they're very toxic. There's like a graveyard in I forgot what country in Africa. It's just very, very toxic as well.
I hate people when they talk about the electric cars. It's the worst thing they could possibly do because you can't reuse anything. And then, as you said, you do nothing but burn fossil fuels anyways to get the energy for them.
Here's the worst part about it. I worked in solar for the longest time, and I found this out, and that's why I got out of the industry, because I realized it was all a scam. The electrical grid in America cannot handle if everybody goes electric, if everybody goes solar or whatever it is. The electric grid in the United States is past due by 70 years. It's living on borrowed time. We keep adding superchargers. We keep adding solar panels that are backlogging the grid. It's literally going to blow the grid. And then we're going to be in a brownout for at least 100 to 200 years. This is why when they put forward the Green New Deal, I was like, this is literally going to destroy the country at the end of the day. Green energy is not the way to go until we update our electrical grid, which neither side wants to do at all.
Hold on, let me get back on topic. So a lot of people said Trump can do this, and that, but Trump is trying to create war, but only Congress can create war. This is what he had to say.
Mr. President, will you be seeking any authorization from Congress for any land attacks on cartels in Venezuela?
For any what?
For any land attacks on drug cartels in Venezuela?
I wouldn't mind telling him, but it's not a big deal. I don't have to tell him. It's been proven. But I wouldn't mind at all. I just hope they wouldn't leak it. You have people leak it. They are politicians and they leak like a sieve. But I'd have no problem doing that.
That's funny.
Come on, what were you gonna say? Go ahead.
Now, what's a brownout? I ain't never heard of that.
When the electrical grid fails.
Oh, that okay.
Yeah.
Shit. All right.
So this is what the Venezuelan president had to say about this.
Trade in and out will continue. Our oil and all our natural wealth that by the Constitution and Bolivar's legacy belongs, our wealth, our land and our oil, to its only legitimate owner, which for centuries and centuries has been our sovereign people of Venezuela, the absolute owner of the land, subsoil and all its wealth.
Kimberly, is Maduro handling this crisis well?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not a big fan of Maduro. I think he is authoritarian. I'm not saying he's like a good guy, but that doesn't give us the right to go in and take him in. But yeah, he's calling Trump's bluff. Trump said, give us your oil. He said, we'll give you our oil. Come take it. And then he says, we want to send back all these Venezuelan refugees. He'll say, we'll take them. We'll take all the Venezuelan immigrants back. You can send them. I think he deployed 2 additional naval ships out today. He's just, calling out his bluff, because what they really want is to provoke a war, because war is profitable. And they also want a regime change because it's a show of force. They think that it makes them look cool. And in fact, Ryan Graham and Sagar and Jetty have done really great original reporting, drop site news on this. And it's been reported that the way that Marco Rubio was able to convince Trump to go through with this, because it's been Marco Rubio's wet dream since he first came, was to say that people think he looks weak. Because during the first Trump administration, they tried this whole bullshit regime change with the guy named Juan Guaido, which was a complete joke. There's a really good book about that by Anya Priampil called Corporate Coup, and how the United States government, the Trump administration at that time, failed that corporate coup. But yeah, I highly suggest everybody look into, like I said, the reporting from Drop Site News. Ryan Graham is really good on this, and Sagar and Jetty. They've been doing some really great work.
So we keep talking about war, and Trump did an address yesterday. So a lot of people thought that he was going to declare war yesterday.
Congress were briefed yesterday that a war is coming, and it'll be announced in the address to the nation tonight at 9 o'clock by the president. A member of Congress told me that this morning. So that's what I know.
Enzo, you were one of those people. So it didn't happen. Do you still think that there's going to be a war declared?
In the words of Nick Fuentes, well, Tucker fucking lied. That's literally what he posted on fucking X. I saw it. So I had to say that. I think it's gonna happen. I've been watching Flight Radar and watching the PPI, the Pentagon Pizza Index. It's been like fluctuating. The Flight Radar, they're doing shows of force. Today was the most busiest that I saw. We had 3 early warning aircraft up at one time. We had, I think it was 4 or 5 F-18s flying right off the coast, probably within like 20 miles, and then 4 or 5 EA-18 Growlers, which are electronic warfare planes. Their airspace has pretty much been shut down for weeks, like 2 weeks now, and I've been watching it the entire time. They're slowly inching closer every single day. Like last week, we had F-18s fly into Venezuela and like over land. They're not doing this for no reason. It's not just to call a bluff. Maduro's not calling his bluff. I mean, do we need to remind everybody what happened last time somebody called Trump's bluff? his famous address, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is dead. Yeah.
Well,
Trump will make it happen.
You brought up Nick Fuentes. He said a little bit more today. He said Trump tricked people, but here it is. I'll let you hear what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why everyone hates Trump now. This is why everyone hates Trump. Everyone hates this administration because it is a scam. It's not even a failure. It's not even an honest failure. It is a scam. We are not getting anything that we have been promised. Think about it. We were promised industrial policy, tariffs, subsidies. They backed down in 1 week. Remember Liberation Day, April 2nd, we're going to liberate ourselves from free trade. We're going to have tariffs on every country. They caved in 1 week and then said, oh, the whole time it was really just about China. Remember that? Another fake out. They said, we're declaring tariffs on every country in the world. And then when the bond market melted down, they said, never mind. It was really just a big trick. And what we always intended to do was to only have tariffs on China and nobody else. Trump always chickens out. Then he said, we're going to deploy the National Guard to Chicago and LA and Memphis and every major city. And we're going to bring law and order to the streets with Trump supporters. In the minds of Trump supporters, 3 million people have been deported, and Trump has ended 8.
He was rambling. That was just way too long. So, Mia, what did you think? Because people were basically saying that Trump tricked them by saying that it was going to be people thinking there was going to be a war, so people would watch their address. And I don't know if it's like because Trump likes ratings, but basically saying to get people to like tune in.
I mean, sure. All it takes is a whisper, and people. I mean, bad news travels faster than good news. Of course, everybody's going to tune in when it's something bad. That's just how society is in the United States. I mean, I don't feel bad for anybody who tuned in and thought he was going to get a declaration of war. For starters, the only body in the United States constitutionally that can declare war is Congress. So for the simple fact that they thought a president was going to declare war from the Oval Office is crazy, because the declaration has to come from Congress. I mean, the United States Constitution, I'll tell you that, buddy. I mean, last time I checked, there are still checks and balances, and Donald Trump is not a king. He is still the president, and Congress is the only one to declare. So I don't know why people are dumb. That's just on them. I'm sure he did good ratings, though. I'm sure everybody was tuned in. I mean, good for him for getting those ratings. Like, I don't hate.
So here's some of the highlights of what Trump talked about yesterday. He's going to give